Hi there, I'm Gerald Lopez, and today I'm interviewing David Holden, naturopathic oncologist and nutritional biochemist. And today we're going to talk about biohacking healing, and we're specifically going to talk about hacking your diet and nutrition with biohacking healing. So, David, this is a huge topic, right? And there's a lot of confusion around it. Why are there so many theories on diet and nutrition? Can you explain that to us?
Sure can. Well, there's quite a few. There's a lot to unpack. Diet and nutrition is one of the biggest sections in the online course, and I do go into that in a bit of detail. The first thing I would say to people is no one is the same as anyone else.
Right. Yeah.
You're individual completely, metabolically, biochemically, genetically. You are unique, and you need to feed that uniqueness. The first step, find out what your blood type is. A simple $10 test with a form to MedLab or lab tests. You can find out what it is within a few days if you don't already know. If you donate blood, you'll know what it is. Simple 101. O blood types are omnivores. They do best with a wide range of proteins. They do better on animal proteins than plant-based proteins, but they can still handle plant-based proteins. But they don't need to be a big percentage of their protein intake. And I must add here, one of the biggest problems I find with plant-based diets is oxalates and phytates. That there are anti-nutrients that block the absorption of many minerals. So A blood types are the most suited to a plant-based diet, but plant-based diets have significant problems, and the problems are the phytates and oxalates that, as I said before, are these anti-nutrients. What that means is if you eat them in abundance, they pull minerals and vitamins out of your body to digest. And I go into this in quite a bit of detail. I'm actually writing that section at the moment for the book coming out at the end of the year. So there's a lot of information there. Find out what your blood type is and start eating for that blood type. You don't have to be anally retentive and very strict about it. What you do 90% of the time is the most important thing. If you want to have a blowout and have an ice cream at the weekends with the kids, and you know that dairy's not great for you, but it's a family occasion, enjoy it. A one-off's not going to kill you, but you don't want to make it a regular thing if you know you're reactive to dairy. Little hacks like that. The other thing I would say is knowing what your metabolic type is, and we go into that in detail on the online course. There's tests you can do to find out very quickly and easily what metabolic type you are. If you're a fast metabolizer or a slow metabolizer, most people know that by the weight they are. If they're a slow metabolizer and they're eating lots of carbs, they're going to put on weight, and obesity is going to become a real problem for them. If they're a fast metabolizer and they don't eat enough, they're going to become very skinny. And they're going to become quite nervy and sensitive. I mean, it's knowing what you are is rule number one. Once you know what you are, you can eat for that type, and you will get much more energy. You won't get diseases as often, if at all, and your body will repair much faster. Now, most people don't understand that we consume a lot of our energy in digestion. Okay, up to 35% of our body energy can go into digesting a food or a meal if it's really A, too big, and B, not the right foods for us, and C, in the wrong combinations. Yes. If you mix proteins with starches at the same meal, like fish and chips or meat and potatoes, okay, you're going to have problems because the digestive enzymes needed to break down protein are completely different to the enzymes needed to break down carbohydrates, and they don't mix together well. So you need to layer your meal. So you eat your proteins first, have a bit of a gap, then have the carbs. But if you're on a low carb diet, like a paleo or keto diet, you won't be eating a lot of carbs. You'll be eating mainly protein and healthy fats. Yeah. And fats is a whole minefield. Basically, everything in the 21st century is becoming inverted to what the truth is. Nutrition companies packaged and sell high sugar, high trans fat, high salted foods because they taste good. People go by their taste buds. It tastes good, must be okay for me, I'll eat it. Then they get health problems. So what you've got to understand is you've got to eat. I have 2 rules for nutrition. It has to be nutritious and delicious, or I'm not interested.
Yeah.
If it's not going to feed my body properly, I'm not going to eat it. Sure, the odd rare occasion with a dinner party and there's something nice there I haven't had for a while, I'll have a little bit of it. Sure, no problem. But it's what you do every day that counts. So this diet nutrition is a huge area. We go into a lot of detail. We encourage people to experiment, find out what works for them. Here's a simple biohack for finding out if you're reactive to a food. What food allergists say is, what's your favorite food that you eat pretty much every day? Number 2, stop eating it. Because if you're addicted to a food source and you keep eating it, you will eventually develop antibodies to it. And you'll actually become, or antigens actually, it'll become a problem for your immune system if you keep eating the same foods day in, day out. I find a lot of Westerners react to wheat, and there's a number of reasons for that. I find a lot of Asians react to white rice because they've eaten too much of it and their body doesn't like it. Now, both those foods are not actually very good for you. Wheat, 85 to 90% of it has been sprayed to death with glyphosate, which is a known carcinogen. And they're usually grown from Monsanto Roundup Ready, which is glyphosate ready, seed stock. So they're sprayed heavily 6 weeks before harvest, and in some cases 3 to 4 weeks before harvest. So those foods are contaminated. They're non-foods. They're toxic foods. Rice, particularly white rice, is known to contain high levels of arsenic, okay, which is a highly toxic heavy metal. So you've got to be aware of these things. So a lot of the work we do with diet nutrition is to detox people from the chemical burden they've taken on board by eating heavily processed, refined foods. Fundamentally, if it comes in a box, don't eat it. You know, making your own food at home is much healthier than buying it out, unless you go to a very expensive restaurant with high quality ingredients, which most of us can't afford these days. So learning to grow organic produce in your garden, prepare it yourself, is a smart move. And as I said before, the key biohack is to start working out what is food kryptonite for you. Food kryptonite are foods that react strongly with your metabolism. You'll come out in a rash, you'll get hives, or you'll sneeze, or you'll feel gassy and bloated the next day as you digest the food. If you're not having at least 1, preferably 2 bowel motions a day, okay, and it's not 3 or 4 on this sheet, okay, then you're constipated. And if you're constipated, you're getting a backup of excreted toxins going back into your bloodstream, polluting your liver, your kidneys, your spleen, so your immune system drops. So detoxification, first and foremost, for anyone who's over 35, 40, who's never done a detox before, they need to look at this, because in the 21st century we are exposed to so many more toxins, mainly man-made, but many in plants, that if you don't know how to prepare the food properly, you will poison yourself, and those anti-nutrients will block the absorption of main macro minerals. One of the fundamental tenets that Dave Asprey teaches in biohacking is that everyone over 30 is macro mineral depleted and depleted in vitamin D, vitamin D, A, K, and E, but specific forms of those 4 vitamins. Those vitamins help the macro minerals absorb into your body, your bones, your metabolism, your organ systems, your brain. So you've got to start increasing the amount of minerals in your diet. I recommend taking a simple mineral powder formulation and sprinkle it on your smoothies, in your protein shakes, which we talk about. I give you lots of hacks for nutrition with a blender and a juicer and a steamer, simple things. Get rid of your microwave, get rid of your deep fryer, start using air frying, steaming, poaching, grilling as preferred methods of cooking. These are simple biohacks that stop you getting exposed to major toxins and building them up in your bloodstream without detoxing them out. So when you start changing your diet, people will notice big changes, but they can feel a bit uncomfortable for the first few days as their body detoxes the signature of the foods that have been kryptonite for them. Common kryptonite: sugar's number one. Cow's dairy, particularly homogenized, number two. Wheat, number three. Just those three foods, if you eliminate those from your diet, you're going to notice changes. I'll give you an example how far off track commercialization of the food supply has come. Sanitarium promotes the All Blacks breakfast. It's got the three worst foods in one meal: Wheat Bix, cow's milk, and sugar. Now, no All Black is going to do well on a breakfast like that. I'm sorry, it doesn't compute, particularly if they're an O blood type. The wheat is going to play havoc with their digestion as they get older. Younger people got such strong digestive systems, they won't notice it as much below the age of 30. But after that, the damage starts to lock in, and that's when people start to notice problems. Though, having said that, post-COVID, we're noticing this is happening in much younger people now.
Right.
So the need for this technology is never stronger and more needed now than ever before in human history.
Now, yes, and so we can excuse this misinformation and disinformation from, not very good, well-written websites on the internet. But we've had information for the last 50, even more years on, say, things like saturated fats and how they're evils. So what is happening there? Because there are a lot of authorities who are saying, well, saturated fats have been eaten for thousands of years, and actually it's a disinformation that saturated fats are bad for you. Can you explain?
Exactly. So there was three things. I only covered one of them that the food industry has promoted. So one of them, the idea that I believed in for the first 40 years of my life was that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now that was a marketing slogan developed by Kellogg's to get people to eat sugary grain breakfasts every day and set them up for nutritional problems for the rest of the day. So breakfast is not the most important meal of the day unless you're a hypoglycemic or a diabetic, okay, which is an endocrine problem from the pancreas and the adrenals, and it can be fixed. Diabetes can be cured without insulin. There's a book written on it by Dr. Gabriel Cousens, The Cure for Diabetes. He was the first doctor overseas to look at how diet and nutrition can affect this terrible disease which is on the increase everywhere. Now, the other things that the nutrition industry has done is they've said that, saturated fat's really bad for you. Well, hang on a minute. No, it's not. Trans fats, heated oils, are very bad for you if they're the wrong types, the omega-6 oils particularly. And we go into this in much more detail in the presentation I give, the 3-hour Biohacking Healing presentation, and the Biohacking Healing 101 ebook and the paperback coming out later this year. So this information is all laid out very succinctly and clearly that people can get access to. So do go on to biohackinghealing.com and sign up for our notifications, and you'll get the free ebook sent to you when it's published very shortly before the middle of June. So get that booklet and start putting it into practice, and you'll notice changes straight away. So the food kryptonite, saturated fat. Now, what the truth is on fats, your brain needs saturated fat to function. The best brain fuel is protein and saturated fat, not sugar. Okay, if you eat lots of sugar in your diet, your metabolism moves out of anaerobic glycolysis and goes into fermentation, which is pro-cancer. Cancer loves sugar. If you want to get cancer, eat heaps of sugar and have lots of stress, and you'll develop cancers way faster than normal. So avoiding those obviously is the key. So the healthy saturated fats: coconut, anything, coconut milk, coconut oil, coconut cream, but don't eat coconut cream if you want to lose weight because you'll put it on. It is very high calorie dense, but it's a very rich source of calcium, magnesium. It nurtures the bones, it feeds the brain. Other sources of calcium and magnesium, almonds are a very, very rich source. Tahini, hulled tahini is the richest organic source of absorbable calcium on the planet. And there is a new form of calcium supplementation that you can't get in New Zealand yet, but you can get it in the States online, called calcium fructoborate. Maybe you can spell that on the screen, calcium fructoborate. It's a new form of calcium bound to boron. It goes straight into the bones, it hardens them. It's great for preventing osteoporosis, and we cover that in much more depth as well. So the foods you can eat naturopathically for specific nutrients, the biohacked dietary supplements you can take to accelerate that. Yeah. The beauty of dietary supplements is they enable you to take control of your metabolism. They enable you to control your biology, as does controlling what's going on between your ears, okay? Yes. This makes a major difference on your outlook on life, your ability to have healthy, happy relationships, your ability to be gainfully employed, your ability to leap out of bed in the morning saying, God, it feels good to be alive. Ooh. And a subject we haven't covered yet, sleeping. We will. Sleep is really important. Right. So nutritional stuff is covered in much more depth in the course material and the little ebooks and the lectures. So come to those and you'll get much more information. We give out lots of handouts. You don't have to remember all the information. It's all given to you. Yeah. I teach this in a super learning style, so it goes into the brain. We teach you the techniques so you remember it, and you've got the handouts to help you when it comes to feeding you and your family healthily for their particular individual type.
Fantastic. Well, we've learned quite a lot. I'm sure you've learned quite a lot from today's session. And the last thing I'd like to mention is, you know, I'm French. I'm half French, and you know how the French New Zealand, your lunch break is half an hour. In France, you won't get a Frenchman to have less than 2 hours taking lunch. They'll come together. It's a really well prepared lunch. They have a bit of wine.
It's their main meal of the day.
Now, yeah exactly. Now,
same as the Spanish.
How do you think that dedication to total enjoyment of your meal contributes to your nutrition and your diet and your weight? Because the French have low rates of heart problems and obesity. So how do they do it? Do you think the happiness factor is the one?
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. The French enjoy the pleasures of life. They're a romantic crowd. They're into love, they're into food, they're into nourishing the heart, nourishing the soul. Yes. The Europeans have a joie de vivre that we don't have down under to the same degree. And everyone who goes to Europe can feel it.
Yes.
And, you know, you go through the cafes of Paris and any major French center, and the restaurants are packed full at lunchtime, and people having a really good social exchange and having conversation, and that helps you digest your food. You eat it more slowly. You enjoy the environment. This is all part of the experience of biohacking healing. Yeah. It's important that you pace your food. The worst thing you can do is eat in a hurry while you're driving. Hello? Yeah. No, please. No. And the best thing families can do is to gather around the table and have shared meals. Yes. Put the cell phones on flight mode in a basket away from the dinner table, particularly with teenagers. Get them to the table and have a conversation. This is so important, and I think the Europeans know how to live life.
Yes. Exactly. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up for today. You can learn far more in the ebooks, the courses, the events, and so we look forward to the next session. Thank you very much, David, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.